Hey guys, welcome back. We are going to be going over how to create a 2-point perspective room. You guys were given the lovely, brand new and exciting project of creating a potential cottage room for Winvan Hotel, and we are going to be making a potential mock-up and layout in this project where you first start with your layout design. You guys took the time to first sketch out a potential room mock-up and what that would look like in your designed cottage. And now you are going to take the time to create a 2-point mock-up of if you are standing in that cottage, what would that look like? So as you can see from the assignment, you were asked to include the following. You were included to include a bed, a dresser, have a bathroom with the standard toilet, shower, and sink, a closet, nightstand, desk, seating, couch, or chair. So all of these things are things that you've most definitely typically seen in a hotel room. It's not limited to these things. Feel free to add more than just these things, but this is the bare minimum. When creating your 2-point perspective room, you might not see all of those requirements, and that's okay. Try to show as much as you can in creating the most compelling visual to really sell your cottage, just like the architects had to do years ago for Winvan. So here we go. So how are we going to create something like this? Well, first, you're going to look at your layout design and decide what areas do you want to be viewed. So if you were a person standing in this room, would you want this area to be viewed? And this is your 2-point perspective area. Or maybe you're standing over here and you just have like the corner of the bed and you really want this to be your focal area. Things like that to really consider for creating this mock-up. So once you've decided what view you want to do, we're going to start drawing it. Hey guys, so we had to switch spots because when I made the video at school, I did it on the wooden table and it was so shaky, it was like an earthquake. So we're at the house and we're going to go through how to do this 2-point perspective. So to start, as I said earlier, you want to have your pencil, eraser, and a ruler. Along with your final paper. You do not need a bird for this project, but she is here to help and support. All right, so to start, we are going to create a line that is relatively in the center of the paper. And this is going to be your horizon line. And to do that, we're just going to create a line going across the paper. Then you're going to create your 2 dots, which are your vanishing points. And for this 2-point, we're going to do 2. So we're going to have one on the side over here and one on the side over here. Then we're going to create the back corner of the room. And referencing back to your layout that you did as your sketch, you want to think about what would be the most compelling view, as if you are standing in the room and you're taking a photograph to advertise your cottage. What would be the best way to show that room? Would it be where the corner of the room is off to the side? Is it in the center? Is it over here? All these things are considerable and are okay. So, but for this demonstration, we're just going to do off to the side, like the example that I showed earlier. Now, excuse me, ma'am, I gotta push you off to the side. Thank you. Okay. So I'm making a small line, and this line is just for the back corner of the room. And we are going to be honing in on the tops and bottoms of that line like I just did with these little dots. So we're going to create a line that goes from one of our vanishing point dots to the end of the paper. So I lined it up with the dot and over here, and I'm creating a line. Then I'm going to do another line over here. Like so. then I'm going to do the floor. So lining it up the dot to here. And then I'm going to do another dot to dot situation. And this is going to create my blank canvas of a room, and we can formally begin interior designing what you have designed in your layout. So now I have my floor, my wall that I'm going to focus on, my ceiling, and a back wall. And I'm going to create some of the things that you saw in my example. So to start is the largest thing in the room, which was the bed. So the bed, I'm gonna have more focused in the center, but if it's your room where you don't want to focus too much on the bed as being the focal point, maybe it's just the corner of the bed or the headboard. It might not be a lot. So I'm gonna start with just a simple line to represent the corner of the bed. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did to make the room. I'm going to focus in on the two vanishing points. So starting with a line here and the bottom of the bed. I need my longer ruler. Creating a line. Then I'm going to make the foot of the bed. Now I have these lines to work with. So to create a line here, you want it to be as vertical as the sides of your paper. So a nice little trick to do is to take your ruler, line it up with the end of the paper, drag it down, and place a vertical line. Now we have this dot here. We also have this area here that we could do the vertical as well. So taking a smaller ruler so I can have a smoother slide, taking it, lining it up with the end of the paper, dragging it down, placing a line. If it's a little gap, just fix that. And now we have areas where we need the dots. And it looks like it's pretty self-explanatory onto where they go. So you could see we want to go this way with this one, and this way with that one. Because if we went this way, we would just be extending the side of the bed. So you want to go that way. So let's do it. So I just had a perfect example of if you end up drawing too much, you can always erase, or if you didn't add enough, you can always go back, line up the ruler, and add more. All right, so the next is we are going to create a headboard. So we're going to create all the big things first and then all the little things second. So the headboard is really a great opportunity to create something that revolves back to the art style that you chose. Think about the art that you see in that style. Like, for example, pop art. That's a lot of cartoon stuff, so it's going to be pretty bubbly. If you're doing Art Deco, that's going to be much more angular. So things like that for you to consider when you're making your headboard. So I'm just going to do some random mounds because I expect you to make something that is your own. Okay? The next thing with the bed, now just to confirm that I'm just making this bed right here, you can have the bed on the back wall, you can have the bed in the center, you can have the bed wherever you want it according to your layout. So I'm just putting the bed over here, but everything that I'm doing, you can move around, okay? Starting with the corner and creating it off of that, okay? Now we're gonna make the little feet. So I'm just creating little straight edge feet, and then the bottom, taking the ruler, lining it up, and creating a line. Same thing over here, taking the ruler, lining it up and creating a line. Now I don't really have much room down here, so these would just be straight lines down. This would then be pretty similar to that. Straight line down, straight line down, and then we're going off to the side here. And then going back and up. So now we have a very blocky bed, and it's looking like something that would be in Minecraft. So we want to make it a little more livable. So to do that, we are going to add things like pillows and a comforter. Now I did in the assignment add YouTube videos of beds, chairs, couches, and such. So if you want to extend upon, your video content for this project, there are some options in the assignment. Okay, so to start, we're going to do a comforter, and we're just going to create a loose, wavy line that goes around our Minecraft bed. And then I'm going to erase the angles I'm going to bring back the corner to just represent that that is the corner of the bed. But I'm going to do it in a kind of wavy way. So I'm just going to make it kind of like a U and a line down. Now if you want to add some wrinkles to the bed to just represent that that is fabric, go for it. Okay, now the next is pillows. So to do a pillow, start with ovals, and then create the poofage, like so. Maybe you got a little center pillow, but notice they are all going in the angle that you created those lines earlier. If you have lines going through your pillows, go ahead and erase those. That's why it's so important to have a block eraser, because you're going to use it a lot. Okay, now the next thing that we could add is a nightstand. So that was one of the things in most hotel rooms. There are tables next to the beds to put your phones, a glass of water, etc. This would be also the same procedure to making a desk. So everything that I'm doing here, you would just kind of extend it to make it larger if the desk is something you plan to showcase in your 2-point perspective. So to start, we're going to do very similar to the bed beginning, where you start with the corner line. This is going to be the front corner. And we're going to do the side. And then we're going to do the side that's kind of facing us. Lining it up, taking my time. Lining it up, taking my time. And then creating those straight lines going down to start forming a cube, and then we'll finish off the top. So I have this side, and I have this side. Now I'm noticing, and I want you guys to notice this too, I did this on purpose. So over here, you can see my cube's gonna end on the back wall. That's weird. So it's as if the table is turned into a spider and is starting to crawl up the back wall. That's not really that great. So to kind of fix that up, instead of having it crawl up the back wall, we are going to erase, and we are going to make sure that the table ends on the floor. So when you're drawing your table or your desk, please make sure that everything is on the floor and not crawling up walls. Okay, so this is gonna be a very narrow nightstand. You can also put things like a lamp on it too. That's pretty common. So now we're gonna do the top. So this becomes a dot, and this becomes a dot. So let's go ahead and do them. On this side. Okay, good. So now we have a top of our desk, the front, and the side. So our desk / nightstand. So with this, we can create things like drawers and legs. So we're going to create 1 drawer and 4 legs. So you're thinking probably right now that we got 1, 2, 3. So how will we make the 4th? Well, I'm going to show you in a moment. So we're going to start with the drawer area. So we're going to go a little lower on the face of the box and create a line going across. And then we're going to create another line going across like that. So now we have our drawer area. And this can be another opportunity for you to turn it into your art style, where maybe the drawer is in the shape of a particular shape seen in your style chosen. Now we're going to create the legs. So we're just going to create a thickness to the lines that you made. So for this one, you see both sides, so you got to add a thickness to both sides, and then the last one. So let's go ahead and erase the bottom, and then we're going to make the 4th leg. Okay, so we're going to be utilizing this back corner here. And so to start, we're going to create a straight line. And then we're just going to add a thickness. Now notice that this leg is shorter because this one is shorter. And it's just the far end leg. To make it shorter, it's because there is space in between and that it creates a sense of depth. Okay, so now we have our teeny tiny nightstand that can be doubled as a desk instruction. So desks would just simply be longer and so forth. Yeah, so now we're going to add a dresser. So a dresser we're going to put over here. And to start, we're going to do the same thing with the front corner of the desk or front corner of the box. And we're going to do the sides. Grab my longer ruler. And we're only going to do the top one. We're not going to do the bottom because you could see if we did the bottom, it would just go right through the dresser, and we don't need that. So we're going to do the top, and this is going to be the top of the dresser. This becomes a line that we utilize with this side, and there we go. So next is we're going to erase the back line that separates the wall from the floor, and we're going to find the center of this dresser for us to create equal spaced drawers. So drawers on a dresser sometimes range from having like 6 drawers on it, where it's 2 rows of 3 and so forth like that. So a lot of our drawer is hidden. So we got to use a little bit of imagination as to where the corners may be, and that's not a problem. But if you do have your corners, then you don't have any imagination for this very mathematical part, and that's okay. So either way is okay. So I'm kind of envisioning that this is going to end somewhere up here. So I'm creating a line that goes across from corner to corner. I am not using the vanishing points. And then this one here is going to probably end somewhere down here. So now I have an X on the face of my dresser. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a vertical line going down. And then I'm going to make a line using the vanishing point to create a line going across. So now I have broken up the face of my dresser into 4 quadrants. So if we were to make this 6 dresser drawer, here's what we would do. We would break these quadrants down. And to do that, we're going to start in the top one, make an X. The bottom one, I'm going to take my smaller ruler for this because this is tiny work. Make another X. Now, finding centers is something that architects, game designers, anyone that creates this kind of interior design or architecture to create windows or, in this case, a dresser, just things to be symmetrical and proportional. It's a quick way to do that, okay? So the next is we're going to do the vertical lines because that's all we're going to need, but I could create the X's for this side too. Actually, I don't need to. You could if you want, but you're not going to need to. So I'm going to create a vertical line going across. And I'm going to create another vertical line going across. Like so. And now I have 1, 2, 3 drawers. And what I could do is now that I have these lines, I mean, I can make this 4 drawers, honestly, is I can erase the X's. I'm gonna make it 3. I'm gonna have one larger one in the center. Like so. And then for the drawers in the center, like how we did the nightstand, definitely use the ruler if you want it to be straight. If this were the pop art room, then yeah, it would definitely be more cartoony like so. Definitely while you're working on your project, look up interior design in the art style. Find one that really interests you, and that should definitely be your choice. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to add a room that would signify the bathroom. So we're just going to add a doorway over here, and this would be where the bathroom is. And this would be a very typical way in how you could showcase your bathroom. If you know, you're not starting your 2-point perspective in the bathroom, literally. So I'm going to start with creating the door frame. And so what I did was I created 2 vertical lines going up the wall, and now I'm going to connect them using the vanishing point. So you can see the theme here before I add this, is that all the stuff on this wall generally goes to this vanishing point. All the stuff on this wall generally goes to that vanishing point. So that way it creates a sense of depth. So here we go. So I'm going to create a line going across. I have a little gap, so I'm going to create that. And now I have my doorway. So I'm going to create a series of things. So I'm going to create a sink, because that was one of the things on the list. I'm going to start with the floor. The floor is going to be higher up because it's further away. Using the vanishing point. Boom. So now I have a floor. Now I'm going to create a sink. So we're going to have the sink in the doorway. So to start, we're going to have the corner of the sink. This is going to be very similar to the nightstand. Starting with a box. But now that we're closer to the horizon line, the top of the sink is gonna be pretty flat. I don't even think we're gonna see it actually, because I'm above the horizon line. I am, so I'm not gonna see it. If you're above the horizon line, you're gonna notice that these lines are not gonna be allowing of the top of the sink because they're starting to go upwards. If they were going downwards, then there is space for the top of the sink, but we're upwards, so we're not doing that. So I'm just gonna let it go to the end because it's a nice long sink. Okay, and then we have our back line that we can get rid of. We're going to create a line. And then we can just make like a little faucet, the handles, and then you do the same thing, make some drawers, cabinet, whatever it may be that you want to put on your sink in the bathroom. A little handle. Okay, so that would be something, you can add a rug. In the rug, you would do like so. So I'm just freehanding it. Need to add some perspective. Then the next thing is adding another rug. And this rug could be as big or as small as you want it to be. Now the last thing is we're going to add a couch. So to do that, we're going to start with another cube. And we're going to use what we used with the dresser in finding a center to create the shape of it. Now this could be used for the couch. This could be used for a chair. For any of that. So creating the verticals. Okay, so now that we have this side, let's do the other side. We've created this corner, so we can see that this corner needs to go to this vanishing point. And now the top. So now we have a cube to work with, and we're going to create a center. And now you can really see the center with all four corners present. So I'm going to create the X. I'm going to make my vertical. And these are all going to be used to create the seat of the couch. And then I'm going to create the horizontal. So now I have the four quadrants, and we're actually going to use it to create the couch. So you could see it start to take shape where it comes here, 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 and here. And we're going to use these to create our couch. So let's do it. So starting with the top dot, Then to the bottom one, to make it a little less confusing, let's get rid of all this. Because if I draw that line on top of all this stuff, I could see that I don't know what's going on. This line here again, because I erased some. Then I'm going to create the horizontal, taking it, dragging it down, making sure it's lined up to the vanishing point, creating that line. Got this vertical here, this vertical here, and now we got ourselves a Minecraft couch. But now we got to make this Minecraft couch just a little bit more comfortable. So to do that, we're going to add some armrests, and then we're going to poof it out. So to do that, let's start with the armrests. So we're creating a vertical line, or not a vertical line, a line using the vanishing point here, and here. And then we're going to create kind of like a fish hook going around and around. And this is going to be our armrests. Now let's create some poof. And to do that, we're going to create a rounded line that loosely follows where the backrest is going. And then the bottom kind of poofs up. Now, there are a lot of couches in a lot of different styles. You're going to really need to look at your art style to see what kind of couch you want to make. But this is the general foundation to work off of when designing your couch. Now this is a very large bottom, and this could be something for you to consider when creating your couch or creating a chair, and you want to create some legs, but you want to make this shorter. So to do that, let's create a line to chop off. So now we just have, this as the base, and then we're going to have some really long legs, and I did this on somewhat purpose, so it could kind of double as like a bench, or to give an example, for a chair. So you can see I've done it to both sides, where this is the thickness of the couch, and then we're going to create some legs. So just like we did the nightstand, we're going to do the same thing. So creating a line, create a line, like so. And then erasing all the excess we no longer need. So just as a recap, you can see everything was essentially made by a cube. Most of these things, whether we started with the front of the cube or when working with the room, the back of the cube, these are all essentially following that same formula. So definitely something to consider. Another thing is if you're making a work of art or a window, I'm just going to go through that. So you're starting with one line and then creating it through using the vanishing point. That way. So these are all little things that you can definitely utilize. There's also the YouTube videos that are in the assignment. If you have any questions about any particular furniture and things that you may want to use, feel free to definitely utilize videos, but also ask me if you have any questions. So that's about it, everybody. I look forward to seeing your projects and sending them over to WinVein. Yep, that is all, and good luck.